Hi, everyone. Happy Friday, and welcome to today's immigration chat with me, Attorney Lilian. I am the lawyer at Lily Legal, where we help our clients get status for themselves and their families using the U.S. immigration law system. So, today, I will be talking to you about the big news that just came out about TPS holders. Okay, if you have TPS, if you've had TPS, this could still apply to you. So, listen up. If you do not know what TPS is, let's start there. TPS is temporary protected status. This is something that the Secretary of Homeland Security designates a country for TPS. So this is not just any country can get TPS. No, your specific country has to be designated for TPS status. And the country gets TPS status based on if there's any armed conflicts like a civil war. Um, Also, if there is an actual war with another country, not just a civil war, think Ukraine. Um, Now, if there is environmental disasters or epidemics. So, for example, you would think the earthquake in Haiti. So, Haiti got TPS. So, those are and then the final situation is if there's extraordinary circumstances or conditions that are temporary. So that's the thing. TPS, the first word in it is temporary protected status. This is not expected to be permanent, is to protect the people from that country. From being deported to that country if they qualify for TPS. So if you have temporary protected status, then listen up because this could apply to you. You could be just fine, but it is such a big news that I wanted to do an entire live on it, not just a quick video. So, what has changed? What has changed? The main thing that has changed with TPS is that if you are able to get advanced parole, and what is advanced parole? Advanced parole is just a travel permit. You are allowed to travel outside of the US with the advanced parole and come back into the US. Okay. Basically, during the Trump administration, they made it so that if you did travel on advanced parole with CPS, your re-entry into the US did not count towards your lawful entry. So, for example, if you came into the US without a visa, right? You crossed the border, you came in, and you're physically in the US. Your country gets designated for TPS. You apply for TPS and you get TPS. Okay. And while you have TPS, you get married to a US citizen that wants to file for you. Well, the process would be starting with USCIS, filing an I-130. Then you have to file a waiver. Then you have to travel to your home country to have your interview. Okay. Now, with TPS, you can apply for something called advanced parole, a travel permit. With the travel permit, you once you're approved, you can travel to another country, come back into the US, and now that re-entry is considered a lawful entry for green card purposes. So instead of you having to travel back to your home country once your spouse files for you, you can basically do everything in the US. So now the process would be you and your US citizen spouse are married. They can file for a green card for you in the US. You do not need a waiver and you would not need to travel back to your home country. That is huge for so many people that may have entered through the southern border and they just really needed to get to safety. And because they didn't have a lawful entry, they are limited. They are limited on basically how and when they can apply for a green card, even if they have a US citizen spouse or a US citizen child that's over 21. that can file for them, and they are an immediate relative. So this is something that really, really affects individuals and families, because now not only do you have to worry about your loved one getting a green card in the US, now you're worried that if they travel outside of the US and something comes up, they could potentially not be allowed back into the US, or have to stay outside of the US for an extended period of time. So with the travel permit, with the travel and re-entry into the US, you are cutting off that possibility of your loved one having to be outside of the US and having to basically potentially have an extended stay outside of the US. So this is big news for people that have TPS or have had TPS. So if you had TPS, let's say your country was designated for TPS, you applied and you got it. And at that time, you also applied for advanced parole and you traveled on advanced parole. Even though you currently do not have TPS, right? Even though you currently do not have TPS, you could still use that re-entry with the advanced parole as a basis for your adjustment of status in the US. So it is really important that you, if you don't remember, whether you've had advanced parole, whether you currently have advanced parole, look into it, speak with an immigration lawyer, because you want to make sure that you are considering all the possibilities that would limit your time, or your time outside of the US, or even whether you have to travel outside of the US to go for your visa interview. Okay. So let's see. I have some questions here. Where can I travel with the advanced parole? So with the advanced parole, it only basically it allows you to come back into the US. That's what the advanced parole does. It's a travel permit that allows you to come back into the US after you leave the US. So you can travel to any country that you are able to get a visa to. So if you have a visa to, let's say, Mexico, you can travel to Mexico and come back to the US with the advanced parole. So the advanced parole does not give you the right to go to any other country. It only gives you the right to return to the US. Okay, let me make that clear. The advanced parole does not give you the right to go to any other country. It only gives you the right to return to the US after you travel abroad. So if you want to go to a specific country, you would need to apply for a visa to that country if it is required. Okay. So I hope that answers your question. And I do see your other question about VAWA. I will get to that at the end. Oh, and Kimberly, thank you so much. We are so happy that we're able to help you to get to your immigration goals. I am so happy to see you here. Welcome, and thank you for saying that. So, like I was saying, TPS, if you have it currently or if you are in the process of applying for it, just know there, if you do get approved, you may be able to apply for advanced parole and get advanced parole. Okay. And again, this is for people that entered the US without a status, without a visa. If you enter the US with a visa and now you're married to a US citizen, you have a lawful entry. So then this whole advanced parole to get lawful entry wouldn't really apply to you. It's more for people that entered without any visa, or and they were not paroled into the US. So it's really important that you know how you came into the US. If you already have TPS, you start exploring getting that advanced parole, because it can really make the biggest difference in your ability to get a green card in the US. You will avoid having to apply for an I-601A waiver. You will avoid having to go to the consulate, which, trust me, most people do not want to do, because the consulate is a gray area where lawyers are not even allowed in with their clients. So it is important to avoid if it, if at all possible. And this gives you the possibility to be able to do that. So I'm just going to take your question, even though it's a bit off topic today. So let's see. My VAWA I-360 was approved August last year. I filed my I-360 and I-485 together. I haven't heard from USCIS since my approval notice came to me. I never heard anything that what should I do? I was abused by an LPR. So it depends if you were in status when you applied, and it is taking time. So if you are approved in August, it can take time for USCIS to get around to it. I will suggest looking at the processing time for where you live as far as an I-485 based on VAWA approval. So that's what I would suggest, looking at the processing time. If you are outside the processing time, excuse me, if you are outside the processing time, then you can do a request with USCIS. But if you are still within the processing time, you would just have to wait. Okay. I have a video on my channel all about how to check your processing time. So go ahead and take a look at that to help you check your processing time and make sure that it is still within the processing time. USCIS has gotten really, their processing time page has gotten better, that they will also tell you based on when you filed, when you can do an inquiry with USCIS. So that's what I would suggest. Check your processing time. Every area is different. So the 485 is going to eventually be decided by your local field office. So you will have to base it on your local field office. And my video shows you not only how to check your processing time, but also how to figure out which field office will eventually have your case based on where you live. Okay. So I hope that was helpful. All right. So if you do have any other questions, go ahead, pop them in the comments. I am here to help you. I'm here to answer your questions. I know I'm talking about TPS today, but if you do have questions beyond TPS, feel free to put it in the comments and I will respond. So just to bring it right back, TPS, temporary protected status, the Secretary of Homeland Security basically designates a country for TPS based on the conditions in the country. So, for example, Ukraine was recently designated for TPS. Cameroon was recently designated for TPS based on the conflicts going on in the countries. So, if your country is designated for TPS and you have applied and you currently have TPS, you can apply for advanced parole, which will give you the ability to travel outside of the US and come back in. And that re-entry into the US will be considered a lawful entry for the purposes of adjustment of status. And that's what you really want, okay? Adjustment of status is being able to get a green card within the US, not having to travel to your home country, not having to apply for a waiver, nothing like that. So to avoid having to travel to your home country in order to get your green card, traveling on advanced parole is your next best option. Actually, it is the best option in my opinion. The advanced parole allows you to travel to any country you want, and then you would be able to come back into the US with the advanced parole. So remember, advanced parole only allows you to come back into the US. It does not give you the right to go to any other country. That country will have to give you a visa, or it may be a visa-free country for you. But just know the advance parole's purpose and only thing it can do for you is allow you to come back into the US. And once you're back into the US, you would have a lawful entry, and then you can avoid the I-601A waiver. You can then apply for a green card. Again, I'm talking specifically to people that are married to US citizens or have US citizen children that can file for them. Okay, so keep that in mind. And Mood Star, like I said, based on where you live, you can go and check your processing time. Okay, I cannot check your processing time for you. However, you can reach out to my office and we can schedule a consultation for that purpose. Okay, let's see. Okay, that was the last comment. All right. So if you have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the comments. Even if you're watching this on the replay, welcome. Ask me your questions because I know you're going to have some. You're going to want to know certain things depending on your particular situation. Just know I cannot give you legal advice, but I can give you information. Okay. And that's what this page, this channel is all about, is giving you information on what's going on in immigration law and how it can impact your family and your individual situation. So just keep that in mind. Unfortunately, I cannot give you legal advice on this medium, but I can give you information that you can then use to apply to your particular situation. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you found this helpful. If you did find this helpful, please go ahead and hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. And as always, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. And if you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, go ahead and do that. My contact information is in the description to this video, and you can also schedule directly on my website, lilylegal.com/contact us, and you'll be able to schedule directly with me without any without even having to call the office. You can see my schedule and book a time that works best for you. Okay, so that, like I said, that is all I have for you today. Thank you, and I will see you very soon with another video or update. Bye for now.